Hi, this is Topher with OS Training, and we're going to begin a series here on Easy Digital Downloads. Easy Digital Downloads, or EDD as it's commonly known, is an e-commerce platform for WordPress that focuses specifically on selling non-physical items. So this would be things like MP3s or ebooks or subscriptions to something or software or anything that you can deliver over the internet. We're looking at it here on WordPress.org. That's because the core of EDD is free. You can download it, set it up, put all your products in it, and see if you like the way it works without paying a dime. There's an excellent feature set listed here. With some good screenshots. But over the next several videos, we're going to take a look in depth at what's available here. EDD also has its own site on the web. And here you can also download it, or you can get a demo, a nice features overview, a link to the extensions page, which we'll take a look at in a minute, and some information about their mobile options. One of the excellent parts about EDD is the support. So if you have some trouble, there's always somebody there to help you. This is the extensions page for EDD. This is how developers make money with EDD, while still giving away the core for free. There are many dozens of extensions here that can do just about anything you want. From payment gateways, to email lists, PDF invoices, affiliate links, web services, just about anything you can think of is available here. We'll be taking a look at a few of these later on. In this session, we're going to take a look at installing Easy Digital Downloads and what you get out of the box. I want to first show you my Pages section, because that's going to change after install. I have 4 pages: Contact, Events, Events Registration, and an image test. Now let's do the install. As you can see here on this page, there are a number of free add-ons for EDD also. $229 items. The first thing we see is a great big welcome screen, similar to what WordPress itself gives you. There's a nice What's New section here, Getting Started, and Credits. Let's take a look at the What's New page. We have combined view and edit screens, responsive and mobile friendly, that's great. Per products, sales and earning crafts, that's great. Dramatically improved taxes, better support for large stores, and a bunch of other updates. Now let's look at that Pages page again. And you can see here now we also have a checkout page with child pages of purchase confirmation, purchase history, and transaction failed. EDD created these pages for us. Let's edit one and see what's there. As you can see, they simply have shortcodes in them, which means you could create different pages if you wished and include these shortcodes. Then later in the settings, we can declare what pages we want to use, if we want to use something other than the defaults here. If you go back to the plugins page, you can see that there's a general settings link. That is the same as this one, under the new Downloads menu item. This download section can be thought of as products, if you're accustomed to products in a regular e-commerce store. And behind the scenes, they're actually a custom post type. So if you're familiar with custom post types, it might help to think of them that way. Which is why you have at the top here all downloads, add new, and categories and tags, similar to any other custom content type. We also have here payment history, discount codes, reports, general settings, tools, system info, and add-ons. We'll take a look at a couple of these in this session, and the rest in another. Let's look at add-ons. These are add-ons which we do not have yet, but you can get them directly in this interface without having to go out to the web for them. System info tells all about the system your site is on. This is particularly useful when debugging. If you go to ask for support, they'll probably ask you for the contents of this page. Tools is pretty simple. There's import and export. This page allows you to export all your settings for this store, but not the products. The products can be exported on the reports page. But these tools allow you to move the store from one site to another, which can be really valuable. In the next session, we'll take a look at the settings area. In this session, we're going to take a look at the settings area for EDD. It's quite large because there are a great many options that you can choose for this plugin. Here in the General tab, at the top is Test Mode, which I'm now going to turn on. While in Test Mode, no live transactions are processed. To fully use Test Mode, you must have a Sandbox test account for the payment gateway you are testing. We'll look at payment gateways in a few minutes. But Test Mode allows you to do all kinds of things with your store, and to see how it behaves without actually spending any money. Next here you can see where we set what pages have what function for EDD. I mentioned in another session that we could create our own pages if we wished. If you did, this is where you would go to tell EDD where your new pages are. We have one for checkout, success, failed transaction, and purchase history. Next we have currency settings. Your options are quite broad, so you can use this in just about any country. Currency position before or after, a thousand separator, and a decimal separator. You can use these to make the money output look familiar to your audience. Here we have a section called Allow User Keys. EDD has an API so that you can write software against it, which can access some of the data in the store. Normally, you don't want just anyone being able to do this, but in some cases you might. And so with this, you can allow every user to create their own API key. This would allow any user to write some software that can access their information on your store. Here at the bottom we have tracking settings. It allows them to see how you're using the software. And as you see here, if you opt in, you can get a 20% discount code for any purchase from the Easy Digital Downloads store. Your discount code will be emailed to you. This can be a pretty big savings if you buy one of the larger packages. And then lastly, remove data on uninstall. Personally, I have found this useful during testing. I'll set up a store, create a bunch of pages and a bunch of products, and then wipe it out, and then create all new ones to start my testing again. You probably don't want this on a production system, because then if EDD gets accidentally removed, your products and your data remain. I'm going to skip payment gateways for now because I'm going to do an entire session on it, and the same goes for emails. But let's take a look at styles. EDD comes with an excellent set of base styles for rendering buttons and product layout and things like that. However, if you need that off so that you can write your own for the cool design that you have in mind, you can simply turn it off right here. Additionally, you can make some minor edits to the buttons that come with EDD. Let's check out the Taxes tab. This is actually a little complicated because taxes are a little complicated. But right here at the top, you can choose to enable taxes or not. This gets us into an area of e-commerce where I can't help you a whole lot. You need to be aware of the tax laws in your city and state. You need to know if you're required to charge tax when selling digital products. A good accountant in your area should know the answers to those things. But if you enable it, you have some options here. You can set a default tax rate, You can choose a base country from which your store operates, which may not be the same country in which you live. And then a base state or province. This option allows you to either enter taxes included with your main price or separate from your main price. And then you can also optionally display tax rate on prices. You can show during checkout. You can show different things during checkout. You can decide when tax should be calculated, and then you can apply additional taxes. So if perhaps you have a state tax and a city tax, or a country tax. In our next session, we'll take a look at some of the other settings tabs here. In this session, we're going to take a look at the payment gateways settings for EDD. Out of the box, EDD handles PayPal Standard, and you can click Test Payment. That allows you to mess around with things without having to set up a payment gateway. I'm going to turn that on right now. If you're accustomed to working with PayPal at all, this is going to look very familiar. You can choose what kind of credit card you want to take, and then there are your PayPal settings. This looks pretty simple. However, things can get pretty crazy once you start looking at the different payment gateways available to you. This is the extensions page for EDD. And these are some of the payment gateways that you could choose if you wished. There's Stripe at the top. That's my favorite, actually. There are some PayPal options: Coinbase, Paytrail, CyberSource, Authorize.net, and there are some bundles here that include several different extensions with a payment gateway to help enhance the gateway. WePay, Braintree, BluePay, First Data, and then you get down here and realize there are actually 4 pages of these. So if you're wondering whether or not EDD will handle the payment gateway you're already using, the answer is probably. There's even an option here to allow people to pay by check. Now each of these payment gateways is going to have its own set of settings, because they each have a different way to communicate with them, whether by API or some other key or username and password or whatever. We'll take a look at several of these payment gateways in later sessions. Now let's take a look at the Emails tab. This allows you to set up who gets what kind of email and what that email looks like. There are 2 templates right now, and you can get extensions for new templates. And here you can preview the purchase receipt and optionally send a test email. There's the from name and the from address and the email subject. And here's what the receipt looks like. Now you'll note these bits of code in curly braces. Down below here are all the options you could use, and it's pretty comprehensive. You could write up a really excellent email with this. Then we also have new sale notifications. So this would email you when someone buys something. And here's a list of placeholder options. This is where sale notification emails should go. And then there's an option to say, don't even email me when there's a new sale. Our last tab is miscellaneous, and actually has quite a few things. You can disable Ajax on the shopping cart. You can redirect to checkout immediately after adding an item to the cart. This is useful if you have only one item in your store. It removes a step. You can disable live credit card validation, disable guest checkout, so people must be logged in order to purchase. You can show the registration and login forms on the checkout page for non-logged in users. You can allow item quantities to be changed at checkout, and you can allow customers to use multiple discounts on the same purchase. And then you can disable cart saving. Normally, if someone puts something in their cart and then leaves and then comes back, it's still in the cart. And here's a section on how to handle file downloads. You can adjust the download method, the download limit, a link expiration time, and you can disable the ability to re-download things that people have downloaded before. You have the option to enable SKUs, and then there's a Terms of Agreement section, which can be quite useful. This is particularly good for when you're selling software. Someone must agree to some terms before downloading that software. And then there are some button texts, and then the option to not cache the checkout page. Sometimes caching plugins can be a little overly aggressive, and you might end up looking at someone else's cart. This disables that. And there we have all the settings. Next, we'll take a look at creating some products and see how that works. In this session, we're going to take a look at managing products within EDD. Normally, I would start with Add New and go through the process of adding a new one. But I've already added one, and Edit is pretty much identical, so we're going to go through that. We're looking at the admin archive here, and you can see there's the title, a category, which I created, a tag, which I created. There's the price, number of sales, amount of earnings, and then there's a shortcode here that you could use in a post if you wanted to make a buy button for this product. Let's click Edit and see what's involved here. Title and content are pretty much exactly the same as every other content type. You can see we have a slug here, /downloads/BigBuckBunny. Big Buck Bunny is a video that was released into the Creative Commons. It's a pretty funny cartoon, but because it's under Creative Commons, it's very often used in examples of downloads and things like that. In the top right here, we have download stats, sales and earnings. You can view a downloads log, which is empty because no one's downloaded it yet. You can view a file download log as well as a detailed earnings report. The publish box is exactly the same as every other content type, as well as categories and tags. Let's skip over here to the left and look at prices. I've put in a price of $10, but we have an option here for variable pricing. This allows you to have variables on your product. If you were talking about a t-shirt, for example, you could have small, medium, and large with different prices for each. So in the case of video, you could have varying bit rates, so you'd end up with different qualities. You also have the option to allow people to buy more than one variation. But we're going to turn those off because we have just the one video. Back to the right, we have download settings. You can limit file downloads so that the file may be only downloaded a certain number of times. Button options is a little bit confusing. Once we take a look at this product, there's a button on it to buy. This checkbox will disable that button, and you don't have the buy button anymore. I can think of a few reasons why you might want to do this, but not too many, so I suggest you leave it off. Featured image is just like every other featured image. And on the left here we have the files that are to be downloaded when purchased. You can select a type, so you can have a single file or a bundle of files. You can provide a file name, and then here's a place to upload your file. It also uses the normal media library. So that should work exactly as you expect. There's still an add new file because you can add several if you're having a bundle. Download notes are special notes that get added to the purchase receipt. So this is simply information for the purchaser. And then there's an excerpt, which is exactly like the excerpt in every other content type. It could get used on an archive page or anywhere else you'd like to print it. So let's save this. And then we'll view. My featured image looks kind of terrible because of this theme. If we were using another theme, it would show that image in a different way. But here we have the title and the content and a button. Here's my product in my cart. And here's where I can enter my personal information. I'm currently in test mode, which we'll go over in another series, so I'm going to put in a fake number. and some fake billing information. And now I've made my purchase. Right here is a link to the file to download. If you look in the bottom of the video here, you can see that the URL is quite long and complicated, which prevents someone from simply finding this video on the internet. And if I click, I can download. There's also a link to it in the email receipt, which I will receive. That's about it for creating products. It's relatively simple, and EDD takes the headache out of keeping files protected against random downloaders. In this session, we're going to take a look at setting up the Stripe payment gateway for EDD. Stripe is a payment gateway that was specifically designed to be very easy to set up for developers as well as end users. For this reason, you can find it in a number of applications. And it's a safe bet that if you use Stripe, the software you use will also use it. This is the homepage of Stripe.com. We'll go to pricing real quick, and you can see that they charge 2.9% plus 30 cents per successful charge. All things considered, that's not very much. You can also see here that they take Visa, Master, American Express, Discover, and JCB. Because it's so easy to use for developers, you tend to find Stripe in an awful lot of places, and I highly recommend it. Here's the page for the Stripe payment gateway on easydigitaldownloads.com. It costs $49 for a single site, $82 for 2 to 5 sites, and $123 for unlimited sites. It includes support for the recurring payments extension and the Astoundify crowdfunding plugin. Something else it does that isn't on this page, but I checked with Pippin and he confirmed with me, it uses Stripe.js as its method for communicating with Stripe. This means that when someone completes a purchase and they click Submit to Pay, they don't actually go to your server to do the payment. Their browser connects directly to Stripe. This means that there are never any transactions occurring on your server. It absolves you of any liability if there are any issues with cards being stolen. Theoretically, you wouldn't even need an SSL certificate, since no one is ever sending you anything sensitive. But honestly, no one will buy from you unless you have one. In order to use this, you must have an account at Stripe.com. Here's mine. I've made one purchase for $10. In the top left here, you can see that I'm in test mode. This means that I can make all the purchases I want, and it won't charge me anything. This is a brand new account that I set up for this testing, and so it's not activated. And by that, I mean I haven't connected it to a bank. So I couldn't switch it to live mode right now, even if I wanted to. But when you're ready to, you simply go into your account, set up your bank account information so that they can send you money, and you're all set. Let's take a look at how it works in WordPress. I previously purchased and downloaded the plugin. And now we should be able to go to Downloads, Settings, and Payment Gateways. And now we have here, Stripe is an option. And we can set our default gateway to Stripe. And we'll choose credit cards. Skip the PayPal settings. In here under Stripe settings, we need some key information. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard. Under Your Account, go to Account Settings. Under the API Keys tab, here are the keys you need. So I'm going to grab Test Secret. Test Publishable. Live Secret. And Live Publishable. And then here below are a couple of options. If Stripe.js fails, you can process cards on your own server. I would rather have the transaction fail than take on the liability of processing transactions on my own server. And then you can optionally only pre-approve payments as opposed to charging them immediately, and then charge them later. I'm going to hit Save Changes. Now let's go look at a product. Going to purchase this video for $10 and check out. And here it wants my personal information and my credit card information. Now, this is important. Stripe is currently in test mode, so you cannot use real credit card numbers. Instead, we'll go over here to the documentation for Stripe. It's in this little tab here at the top, and then on the left is Testing. At the bottom of the testing page are a collection of credit card numbers that you can use in test mode. These numbers are actually created by the credit card companies. We'll take this Visa. You can use any 3-digit code with a test and any name and any future date. I have my billing information in here already. I will now purchase. And there we are. Now let's go over to Stripe. I had $10 in here already. Let's check out what happened. And there we are. Now I have $20. And it knows that I'm the same customer as last time. Now when you're ready, all you have to do is click this button. It'll switch to live. It won't work for me because I haven't connected to a bank, but all it does is slide right over. And then in your settings, under General, uncheck Test Mode. And then you are processing live credit cards with Stripe. This process is very similar with just about every single payment gateway. They'll ask you different questions and they'll give you different API keys and they'll ask you to push different buttons. But in the end, all they want to do is verify that transactions are coming from your site, how much they are. Once you get that worked out, you're all set. That said, if you don't already have a payment gateway, I highly recommend Stripe. They're one of the best processors around. In this session, we're going to take a look at the payment history section of EDD. This section allows you to take a look at all of the sales that you've had so far. As you can see at the top here, you can filter by status: completed, pending, refunded, revoked, failed, abandoned, pre-approval pending, and canceled. Right now I'm showing all, and they're all mine. You can see how much and what date, what user, and the status. Here you can edit or resend purchase receipt, or you can view order details. Let's take a look at that. Here at the top we have customer details, billing address, and here we have the purchased downloads. What's interesting about this area is that you can add to their purchased download for this order. I only have the one product, but I can put in how much I want to charge for this and add download to payment. It doesn't actually charge them, but it includes a product on their payment. You can use this to arbitrarily give something to a customer. And then there are some payment notes here. The EDD bot marks that status was changed from pending to complete, and that there was a Stripe charge ID. But you can make your own notes here and say anything you'd like about this transaction. Then in the sidebar here, we can see that there was no discount code, how much the price was, and we can recalculate totals if we need to. And then we can update the payment. It was done with Stripe. Here's the key and the IP address. We can change the status here to any of these things and adjust the date and time. And then, optionally, we could resend receipt. This would be particularly useful after adding to their download because the receipt would indicate that they had the new stuff. One more thing to note here, you can also filter these by date, and you can search. This will be particularly useful once you have thousands of sales. One more cool thing you can do here, you can resend email receipts for multiple orders at a time. So if you had an issue with your mail server or something and the receipts didn't go out, you could select 10 or so and send them right out. In this session, we're going to take a look at the Reports module of EDD. The default report here is earnings. You can show earnings over time. You can show today, yesterday, this week, this month, last month, this quarter, last quarter, this year, last year, and custom. I only have 3 sales, each for $10, and so it shows total earnings, total sales, estimated monthly earnings, and estimated monthly sales. Then we can see downloads. So you made these sales, but how many people actually downloaded? I didn't. I made those 3 sales myself, but I didn't actually download the file. Let's look at the detailed report here. This is earnings over time for Big Buck Bunny specifically, and it's at 0 because I made all of my sales in test mode and didn't actually bring in any money at all. Next, we can look at customers. And all of the sales for that specific customer. We can also look at this customer's download log. So this customer has downloaded Big Buck Bunny once. Payment methods is particularly interesting to me. As you can see, PayPal Standard has never been used. There's been 1 test sale and 2 Stripe. Given this information, you obviously should give up PayPal. But seriously, this can be a really useful tool to see if somebody is using or not using a given payment gateway. And lastly, taxes. I don't have taxes turned on, so this is going to be pretty boring. But it would show you the total amount collected in sales tax for a given year. Then we have the export area. You can simply generate a PDF of sales and earnings. You can also export it to CSV, export customers to CSV, and the download history to CSV. Then you can import these into something like Excel and do all kinds of reports, whatever you wish to do. And that's it for reports. It's pretty comprehensive. There are some add-ons that can extend it some, and I'm sure there will be more add-ons, and probably the default reports will be expanded as well over time. It's possible to make reports go on and on forever. In this session, we're going to take a look at discount codes in EDD. Discount codes are short words or phrases with no spaces that allow a user to claim a certain discount. Let's create one here and I'll show you how it works. We'll just make up a name of one. Call it Bunny Discount. We'll make the code Bunny. And then you can choose a percentage or a flat amount. I'm going to do a flat amount and we'll do $2 off. Then there's a section for download requirements. You can choose all selected downloads or any selected download. We'll do all. So now Big Buck Bunny gets the discount. You can also exclude downloads. So if your requirements are quite broad, you could say, except for this download. Then you can restrict by date. So you can say during the week of the 4th of July, for example, we'll have a discount. There's a minimum amount, so you can make it only work if they spend, say, $100 or something. Max uses, so you could say to the world, there are only 10 of these discount codes. Hurry now. And then you can optionally limit this discount to a single use per customer. I'm not going to set any of these things because I want a quite liberal discount. And there we are. There's the code, the amount, 0 uses, unlimited max uses, no start date or expiration, and it is active. So let's take a look at a product. Here we are. We'll purchase for $10 and go to checkout. And right here it says have a discount code. Click to enter it. There we are. And just like that, it applied it. Now let's go ahead and make the purchase, and we can take a look at some of the stuff on the back end. I'm going to use a test card number. And we'll purchase. There, now we've made a purchase for $8. Now let's go back and look at the back end. If I reload this page, you'll see that there's been one use. That's really all there are to discount codes. You could deactivate it, which means it doesn't work, but it's here so you could get it back out if you want to reuse it some other time. This session will be a little unusual because the software I'm going to cover is not for WordPress, and I can't show it to you directly. That's because it's an iOS app, and recording screen actions is really quite difficult in iOS. I want to look here at the iOS Sales and Earnings Tracker. This is an app for your iOS device, iPad or iPhone, that allows you to track changes in your store. Fortunately, Pippin made some great screenshots here. Here's the mascot of Easy Digital Downloads. Here's the main page of the app. It shows you current month and all-time earnings. As you can see, you can pick any other time frame. And here are 4 products. You can see the dollars earned and the number of sales. Here's a specific list of sales in March. Looks like Pippin's the only buyer. Here's product details, so you can see earnings and sales by single product. And then the various other areas you can use in this app. And here's the setup. It's quite simple. It takes the site URL, an API key, and a token that you get from your store. Normally I wouldn't include an app like this in a series like this, but this is pretty specific to the WordPress plugin we're using, and it's really quite useful. It helps you stay on top of your sales no matter where you are, and you don't have to have your computer open to check. In this session, we're going to look at a free add-on for EDD called the Shortcode menu. This adds a button to TinyMCE in the editor to allow you to easily create shortcodes for EDD. Let's install it and take a look. Now let's make a blog post with a button. Here we have a new button called Insert Download. We only have one product, but then we can choose a style for the button, a button color, and what we want on there. And now we have the shortcode. Now you could have typed that out, as long as you remembered all the options. Let's publish, and then view. And there we have it, a button right in the middle of a blog post. Now let's make a text version. We'll update, and then view. And that's what the text version looks like. Now you can click this and go right to checkout. This kind of shortcode can be dropped into widgets as well, If you use a text widget, you can drop it in there and have a buy button in your sidebar at any time. This plugin we're reviewing here simply makes it easy to get the shortcode by filling out a form.